What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, the community finance coach, aka Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies. And I'm super excited. Today, we're going to be talking about nurturing connections. And it's a very interesting topic that we're going to be having. But first, in speaker rotation, I would like to ask our speakers if they can introduce themselves and tell us a little bit more about them. So, speaker first, Shatal, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
100%. Thank you, Anthony. I'm Sheetal. I'm with Cross Country Mortgage. I'm doing mortgages for 27 years. I love doing that. And I'm really happy to be here today with all these wonderful ladies and, of course, our super, super cool host.
Thank you so much, Shital. Thank you for coming. Second rotation, we have Luisa.
Hello, Anthony. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here tonight. Again, I'm an accountant and I help with small business owners to know their numbers, to empower them so they can make better financial decisions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on, Luisa. And then anchoring us in tonight, Christina. Christina, welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Stratz. I'm Vice President of Valley Bank. The Community Lending Department is where I am in, and I'm also an ambassador for women-owned business owners.
Shout
Hello.
out to all women in business. So, for those that are watching, Roundtable Remedies was created to inspire, connect, and educate individuals from real people, real stories. And we hope that some of the tips and tricks or remedies that you hear tonight will kind of teach you a little bit about nurturing connections. And I don't know about you all, but nurturing connections is something that I've always tried to practice, right? From family to business to clients, prospects. And I'm not perfect, I'm not the best, but I'm really excited to hear how the conversation is going to go tonight. So, Shatal, when you think of nurturing connections, what comes to mind?
So, what comes to mind is being an active listener. So, nurturing can mean different things to someone at different points in their life. So, by asking a lot of questions, getting to know them better, and listening to them, and that I think automatically takes me to a place where it's a natural thing to nurture and take care of their particular needs. Each one is different. So, it's they literally, when you ask a lot of questions, they automatically would tell you what their pain point is. And I think that's what we do. We try to resolve their pain or take care of what they're looking for at that moment.
It's true. It's true. I love that. Being an active listener. So, nurturing connections, the first remedy we're talking about is being an active listener. Shital, can you tell me a little bit more about an experience with a client or a personal experience that you had that someone was an active listener? And how did that make you feel?
Oh my God, that it's a great question. So what happened was, this was years ago, probably decades ago. You know, I had I have two boys. They were little and they loved tennis. Now, I had this person, every time he spoke to me, he would remember my Indian boys' names, which are not easy. They're not John and James. They're Indian names and they're not easy. So you have to make an effort. So he would always ask me, "How are Veer and Kabir? How is their tennis going?" And I would say, "Oh my God, you remember." Now, obviously, he was writing and making notes, and he had a strategy behind making notes and getting to know someone. And I said, that's so cool. So we can all do it, right? Like, who remembers everything? We talk to so many people, it's hard to remember, but just making a note about somebody's personal life, and then when you speak to them again to bring it up, it's huge. It made me feel very special. So I try to do that to the best I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, being an active listener, taking notes in meetings. Christina, I saw you nodding your head. What are some of your thoughts? I think you have to unmute yourself, actually.
Yes. So, as a sales rep, working in a financial institution for 24 years, one of our goal is to be an active listener.
Mm,
Right. It's important when you have a client in front of you to listen, to actually hear them out. and then to come with solutions. Because when you're an active listener, it opens the doors to every other skill that we learn to get to know the person, and you're also building trust. So when you're listening, you're letting that other person know, I am listening to you, I want to connect with you, and this is how we are going to build our relationship. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, look at that. And as a banker in your profession, understanding that being an active listener is so important. Thank you for sharing that. Shital, so nurturing connections in your day to day, let's be honest, has there been some opportunities where things kind of fell through the cracks?
Oh gosh, many, several, because sometimes I think I remember stories. When I do someone's mortgage, I know exactly their story, what happened. Like you talk about the business part of it, the transaction, I remember the process. And sometimes I just don't remember the names and I forget. So when somebody calls me and I mean, since I'm doing this for so long, they'll call and say, "Hi, Shita, remember me?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, who is this person?" So yes, it does happen often. But you know what? By again coming back to asking questions, being real, being vulnerable, and being honest with them. And they'll say, "Oh, you don't remember me?" And I said, "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. What's your last name? I'm so sorry. You know what? I will just let me ask you a couple." And it comes, say, "Yes, now I know. And remember, this is what happened, and that's what happened, and how are your kids?" So it's just again going back to getting deeper and asking more questions. But yeah, you forget sometimes.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I have somebody, Louisa would send me a client, and we could have been connected last year, and maybe I didn't save the number at the time. And again, they reach out to me a couple months after, and they're like, "Hey, Anthony, it's good to talk with you." And I'm literally there just paying attention to the voice, trying to pick up if who it could possibly be, or I'm looking at my text message, hoping that maybe I texted them saying, "Oh, hello, such and such," so that when I look at their text message history, their name is there. So it's a little remedy that I do, right? If I don't save the number right away, I send them a text message. "Oh, hi, John. Luisa introduced us. Thank you." So they text me or call me a year from now. In my text message history, usually is there. But it's very embarrassing when you don't remember. I definitely can agree. For anybody that's watching on the live right now, has that ever happened to you? If you're in business or someone reached out to you and they knew you, but you didn't really know them. We're talking about nurturing connections here. So definitely we want to be real and raw. Shital, I want to thank you so much for sharing some of these valid points on, nurturing connections and how you do them and being real with us, right? We're not the perfect, and that was a great example. And we can only hold ourselves accountable and try to create certain processes. But I really appreciate you sharing that. Active listener is definitely a key component. And around the end of the meeting, we're going to talk about final thoughts, and I'm sure we're going to get right into it one more time. So thank you. Luisa, so when you think of nurturing connections, what comes to mind?
Nurturing connection comes to mind, nurturing the connection with myself. I am very, I practice a lot of self care. So for me to kind of listen to myself and get the answers that I need with that connection, um, I mean, it just helps me to stay on point in my work with my daughter, which is one of the most beautiful connections that I have, and also my family. In terms of business, I am not that great. I have to be honest. But I'm always here if anyone needs me. Anthony, like we talk from time to time,
Mhm.
and it's not really like I'm like, hey, checking in with people or anything like that. But I'm always here if you need me.
Yeah, no, so it's like one of those, we won't talk in a while, but when we do, we pick up right where we left off, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the kind of connection that you would expect if you have me in your circle.
right. So for those that are watching, do you set those boundaries, right? Do you keep a small inner circle and kind of just provide the service and you know, after that, I'm here as a need be. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and setting comfortable boundaries, I don't want my clients calling me at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. They do, and I don't tell them no, so I don't have any healthy boundaries with that. Um, but Luisa, what are some ways? How do you protect your peace with nurturing connections?
Well, one thing that I'm learning now, because when I started my business, I will get back to my clients and my connections like right away, or try to be on top of that. But if you text me, I just don't get back to you. If you text me Friday and it's about business, I won't get back to you on Monday. Like I've learned, and I'm learning now how to deal with those situations where it's like, hey, I'm gonna get back to you on Monday. But it's important, like you said, to have those boundaries, because you also have a life, you also have a family, and yes, you're a business owner and you are offering a service, but at the same time, you're human, right? And you need that time. So I appreciate people that can respect those boundaries and kind of don't get upset, because sometimes I would get clients, hey, you're not in my messages. I see you on Facebook, or I see you. I
Oh,
have
wow.
a life, I have a life. I'm sorry. I'll get back to you on Monday. So yeah, I think from the beginning that was kind of like a mistake that I made, that I didn't care about weekends just because I wanted to offer a good customer service. But now it's kind of like, hey, I'm also human and I have a life, outside of work, and I have a family to take care of.
Right, right. Shital, I saw you nodding your head. What were you thinking?
No, I mean, um a little bit different, and I love what she said. I strive to be like her, but I'm not able to, because I think it's also the nature of my business that when somebody finds a house and they need me, like a realtor, right? They've shown 100 homes to this family, and when they need me, I want to be the soldier there. So that's my mentality. No matter what, I will take care of their letter, give it to them, or. But you're right, Louisa. Sometimes what happens is people do abuse that. So you have to be selective, right? One knows what has to be answered and what can wait till Monday. That's it.
Yeah,
I get
Right,
it. I
no.
see where you're coming from. I can learn from you.
I can learn
Christine,
from
I
you
see you.
too.
I see you nodding your head, Christina. What are some of your thoughts?
I agree with Shita and I agree with Luisa. I think the work balance situation is very important, right? I think that for us to be able to be efficient at what we do have to take the time off and disconnect and go with, our mental, physical activities to kind of refresh and come back to the customer. I don't get me wrong, I do have customers calling me, after hours and they do need help. So it's a one-off situation. There's emergencies that do arise, and I do help. But there's also that boundary that I set, when I first meet the customer, let them know, hey, just expect, us to get back to you at this and such time. And if I do receive a call within that, the off times, I will get back to you at this time. So communication is part of it. Setting boundaries is also part of it, but also having that work-life balance is crucial for us to do what we do.
I love that. And I didn't think that having a conversation around nurturing connections would lead us to discuss about setting healthy boundaries, right? So for those that are watching, do you have trouble setting healthy boundaries with your clients? Do you have like a 24-hour round the clock that you allow them to reach out to you at all times? Come and engage right now. So I wanted to ask you, Luisa, I know that you shared that maybe nurturing connections wasn't your strongest suit. And I love that you led with having healthy boundaries and educating your clients on when the times that they can reach out to you. Do you think that nurturing connections is a two-way street?
Huh. That's a good question. I think so. I think so, because we all busy. We all, especially if you have a business. I think that we all have things to do, but also like we can improve, right? But at the same time, I get people that say, "Hey, you've been lost." But it's like, you have my number too, you can call me
Yeah, that's what I
anytime.
mean. Yeah, for
Or they
sure.
text me like a year after, hey stranger. What?
I've been right here the whole time.
I've been here the whole time. So yeah, it is a two-way street. But like I said from the beginning, if you need me, I'll be here for you. I'm just not here to kind of like checking in with you or whatever, but I'm here when you need me, anytime that you need me.
Now for and then finish your thought.
No, Christina says something that she said, setting up that expectation with the clients from the beginning. Like, hey, we only work Monday through Friday. I don't accept business, I don't do business on text messages, which is something that I still do, but I'm trying to avoid. But like she says, setting up that expectation. I have a portal. You're going to upload all the documents on the portal. This is how we work, so let them know from the beginning so they're not expecting to have that kind of service.
Yeah. Shital, is there some hidden nuances that clients looking to buy a home expect you to do that's kind of not in your job description, but they're assuming that and expecting you to do it?
No, I mean, I think that post-pandemic, or I don't know whether it's just the area we live in. We live in a very high-paced area in the world, right? We're right by the Big Apple. I
Mhm.
think people want instant gratification, and patience out here is very less. So
Mm.
yes, I think that once you set expectations and you let them know that this is the process, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to expect, and this is what you're not going to expect, then it's fine. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it is crazy. It's off the charts. Like people will start texting, like Louisa said, right? Louisa, people will start texting their tax returns to me. I'm like, oh my God, imagine if everybody sent their tax returns to me by text, like, oh no.
On
So
WhatsApp.
right. So it's as simple as that. We have to teach our
Good old
clients,
WhatsApp.
hey, there's a portal. Hey, this is the way to do it. If you don't know how to do it, your son or daughter can do it. Someone else can do it.
Mhm.
But it's not that
Wow,
complicated.
that's such a good point, right? Because again, if you don't nurture, what is the word nurture means is working on, to work on, right? And if you break down nurturing, it's an active word. So it's not something that just doesn't happen one time. And individually with each person, you have to nurture those connections and you have to set those boundaries and set those proper expectations for you to protect your peace as well as for the other person to not have the wrong expectations. That's pretty cool. Some of these things I'm learning as I go as well, right? And so I wanted to ask everybody because this is a question that I struggle with, right? Nurturing connections with family members, right? For some reason, for me, I have family members out of state in all different ages, and relationships hasn't always been so tight, even with intermediate family. And if we're being real, right, and I'm being vulnerable, I feel sometimes it's a one-way street. It's always me knocking on the door, reaching out, and sometimes you get tired and fed up. I don't know about you guys, kind of like with family dynamics, but what are some of your thoughts just kind of nurturing relationships on family members? Luisa.
Well, I think that, as family members, they will understand. And at one point, like you have to kind of cut the umbilical cord, right? And kind of just be there for them when they need you. But I mean, just because they're family, this is what I've learned, right? And I'm improving every day, working on myself. But just because it's family doesn't mean just because, okay, it's family, like you have to be there for them and you have to save them or you have to answer right back. Like I feel that everyone individually has to do the work and they have to do what they have to do with what they have. So yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends also, what kind of relationship you want to have with a family member. So it all depends, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Especially, I'm always talking about breaking generational curses, breaking the chains. showing my kids having a better relationship with their grandparents, or just from saying hi and bye from with adults, their teachers. I mean, my kids are young, so nurturing these type of connections. But then again, there's some family members where you kind of really don't want them around, and I'm okay with them kind of being a little bit, arm's reach, right? So I get it, right? Christine, I see you're smiling. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, Luisa, you're totally correct. And Anthony as well. After the pandemic, I kind of had a little bit of mindset change. When you're in a family that you're like the leader, or you're like that one person that they come to and they say, you know what, I have a question, I need this, I need that. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, am I the only one? Um, but after the pandemic and everything that has happened in the world, I think differently. I really do think that sometimes, in not only family, I think the world needs a little bit more love, a little bit more direction. And sometimes many of us, and I include myself, we weren't taught to say, you know what, good morning or good afternoon or I love you or have a great day and stuff like that. So I think that sometimes we need to, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter how far you are, we need to do it, right? So we can show the others, I did it, I broke the generational curse, and it's okay. We'll build from here. So again, everyone is different. Every family dynamic is different. But that's my opinion, and it's because of what the world is going towards. I mean, I think spreading more love and just forgetting about, I'm the only one doing it. Like in my case, just continue spreading love. I think
Mm,
that.
wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Continue. Because honestly, look, I can build a little bit of resentment. I could be honest here, right? If I'm being honest, sometimes I feel that flesh feeling of resentment, and I'm like, it's like, do you only reach out to me when you need something? I had a family member that I didn't even know was a family member hit me up on Facebook Messenger and started asking me questions about family, and I thought it was super genuine. And then they go, I see you work with money and credit, can you help me? I'm like, yo, you've been watching me for all these years, I didn't even know you were a distant cousin, and now you need something? It's like, come on, you got to nurture these connections way before you ask me for a favor, you know she taught, what are some of your thoughts about just the family dynamic on nurturing connections?
We all have the same amount of hours in a day. So time is important, but so being intentional is important too. So in my career, like I feel like I worked too much. 20 years just went by. I don't know where they went by.
Mm.
Just working a lot, having kids, running home. And now I do feel that I should have spent more time with more friends. So I my kids are big, they're gone, and now I want to, you know, get back to it. And like you said, I think it's post pandemic. Pandemic had some effects. We saw so much happen. Little compassion is good. It's good to have that deepen relations with people you love, and whether they're friends or family. And yeah, I know family, you're going to like some, you're not going to like some. That's a package deal for it's all for all of us. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's the all together. It's all good.
they say this
No one's going to
this
be perfect,
they
nor are
say
we.
life be lifing, right? And I love it. There's only 24 hours in a day, and we're talking about nurturing connections. Some of the benefits that I wanted to share, it was really interesting when I was researching about this topic. I wanted to share with you, and mental health benefits from nurturing relationships are immense, and from family, friends, partners. Nurturing connections can actually provide a sense of belonging and security, and in fact, it's said to boost self-esteem and confidence. And so I feel that nurturing connections is a hidden nuance or an element that we have to pay attention to a little bit more, right? So, really interesting. I really appreciate all the remedies that you all are sharing. Christina, as we're rounding third base, I would love to hear from you. When you think of nurturing connections, what comes to mind?
So everyone that I work with, it's funny because when they look at me, they're like, "Oh my God, you're a little bit too serious." But I am actually the funnest person on earth. As much as I work, I also like to have fun. So to me, a celebrating achievements goes a long way. I think that, whenever I see a business owner and they have this great idea and they brought it to life and they're doing awesome at it, I celebrate it. Whenever I see a friend that landed a position that they worked hard for, I celebrate it. Whenever I see a friend's son that is doing great in achieving their goals, I celebrate it. So as busy as we are, having that kind of conversations, listening, a boundaries, but celebrating the achievements that we encounter, that's a plus, right? Because again, when we nurture, we're making it great for that person that we're dealing with. So celebrating the achievements that they are, encountering, and they have gone above and beyond to get to where they're getting to. It to me is important. Personally, I went through, I guess, a transaction that I was hoping to get, and it was hard. It was a bumpy road, and I dealt with an individual. I was the customer and he was the professional. And after we, bumped heads because it was a rocky road, and we had disagreements, but when we finally got it done, he called me up 2 days after and he congratulated me and celebrated me. And that meant the world to me. And that created that ill experience, that rocky road, to be an experience that I will refer customers to him, because at the end I understood that there was going to be challenges, and he wasn't going to take the challenges and say, you know what, okay, it's done, I'm going to my next customer. No, he took the time to acknowledge the challenges and to congratulate me as a customer. So that to me is what changes the whole transaction to like a positive, and being that number one fan to that individual.
Wow.
Hmm.
So let me ask you a question. How were you able to get past that tough time? Because if you don't have a relationship, if you don't set boundaries, if you don't set expectations, if you don't communicate effectively, then a lot of things can go wrong. And without getting into too specific, but share what you feel comfortable sharing in regards to how did you nurture and work on those relationships to get through those hurdles?
So those rocky roads, one, communication. I communicated every step along the way, whether it's a positive or negative. And number two, it was making sure I was present with everything that was happening through the whole ordeal. There wasn't no third party. There wasn't no fourth party. It was a communication between myself. I was a customer in this situation, and the professional. And three is checking in. The person was checking in with me every other day, making sure everything was okay, making sure, signatures were signed, and pictures were taken. So communication, checking in, and making sure you're present with your customer. That's kind of how it got smoothed out, right? We encountered it, we went through it both, and we came out, victorious. So, yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah.
Follow up, follow up, follow up.
Yes.
And so for those that are watching, what would you recommend to them if they're going through a rocky road right now, whether it be with a spouse, a friend, work related? How do you protect your peace during those rocky roads? Christina.
How do I protect my peace through those rocky roads? Uh, I try to do, and I tell my friends, I actually signed up to salsa classes in October. So I try to do one fun thing a week. I think that,
Oh, I like that.
yeah, to protect our peace, you kind of have to break that cycle within our 9 to 5 or our 9 to 7, and kind of do something that we enjoy for ourselves. I have 3 children myself, and it's hard, right? Having three. and working a woman leader and being a volunteer in my community, but I try to squeeze something that I enjoy. So recently I was part of a pageant, and the whole experience was amazing because it kind of was like a kind of refresher, and it was getting to know great individuals. And now I'm going to take dancing classes. If I'm not doing that, I love to cook. So whatever it is that you enjoy, just squeeze a minute and it's for you. Either it's reading, dancing, taking the walk, or even having that great conversation with a good friend.
I like that. I really do. Because I think that we all get in this quick cycle. I have 5 kids, and I'm always trying to figure out whether it's with my kids, did I spend enough time with them, with my spouse? And, I feel guilty sometimes that I can't. And, so I'm even trying to practice how I can do some fun stuff with them. It could be a half an hour playing hide and seek, or with Cindy just watching something or going out to the movies. And so I like that breakup. Luisa, how do you break up your cycle?
Well, I think that, okay, nurture connection, it starts with you, right? If you don't nurture the connection with yourself, how can you nurture other connections, right? That is
Mm.
my thought on that. So yeah, so it starts with you, and I think, yeah, to have peace and to break that cycle again, it's a lot about self care, right? What you tell yourself, the conversations you have with yourself. That's where that's the place that I enjoy most, right? To be with myself, enjoy myself, and having those conversations where I get answers to, or when I'm having an issue, I just go with myself, I meditate, or I just go to nature. I spend time in nature.
Mhm.
That is the best thing you can do for yourself. It's to kind of nurture that connection with yourself.
Yeah, I think that's important. She taught you, you've been playing a bunch of pickleball and always sharing with us, and we've talked about taking our BNI chapter and going on, mountain trail walks and doing these nature stuff. So what about you? How do you break the cycle?
I get a lot of strength from loved ones. I'm
Mm.
very blessed. Like my mother lives with me, and she's so wise and she's so kind. So I almost get therapy right here at home. Because sometimes, yeah, it's tough. It's planned to be in a customer service business. You just cannot please the world, and I've come to terms with that. Earlier, I used to have a hard time. I used to take it personally, but now I like, someone's hurting. It's not personal. If that person is hurting, it's okay. We keep doing like exactly what Christina said, keep giving them updates. You do the right thing, and in the end, they do turn around. At least, so most of them do. So, yeah, it's like, and I love Christina that one day you do intentional, fun, like an undiluting and so important.
I think that we can all agree that having positive connections is very important in a friendship and a relationship, and using positive gestures, breaking up the cycle, setting boundaries. These are ways where we can nurture connections. And I hope that those that were watching learn some new ways from family, friends, business, both personal and professional, of course. And right now we're actually rounding third base. We're going into the part of the show where we go into our final thoughts. And so we're going to go round robin. And here on the round table, again, we're here to inspire, connect, and educate you from real people, real stories. And today we're talking about nurturing connections. And I don't know about you all, but I learned some new stuff today. I think that after the show, I'm going to talk with Cindy and figure out some new ways where we can break the cycle. But in speaker rotation, Shital, if you can kick us off, what are some of your final thoughts on tonight's show?
Two final thoughts. Two final thoughts, guys. One easy technique is write a handwritten card to someone.
Ooh, that's nice.
just because we don't get it anymore. Like it's very rare that somebody sends us a handwritten card. Everything is texting.
Right.
So in this world of technology, when you take a moment and write something's genuine, even if it's just a one line, I think it matters. And the second thought is, I think the best way to connect is by sharing pain. While we all want to show the world life is perfect, we're always smiling on social media, we want our best looking selves. But the truth is that if you're alive, everyone has some pain or the other. And when you share pain with someone, it's the highest form of connectivity. And those are my final thoughts.
Those are some powerful thoughts. You saved some good remedies for the final thoughts. You were holding out on us. I see. That was great. Luisa, final thoughts.
I just say connect with yourself, nurture yourself. Everything starts with you. And it's funny because we weren't taught to connect with ourselves, and now that's something that I've been learning and I'm still learning. So to me, that's where my strength comes from connecting with myself, understanding myself, and that way I can understand others better.
Some powerful stuff. I like that. Share your pain and nurture yourself. And then final thoughts, Christina.
So, like I was young adult daughters, I have to say you have to do what you love. And I think you mentioned that like connecting with yourself and getting to know yourself, doing what you love is you're first going to enjoy the encounters with individuals because you're doing what you love. There's a saying, and I can't quote it because I it says when you're doing what you love, you're not going to work a day in life. Is
In
it
your
like
life. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so because you're doing what you love, you're enjoying speaking to people, you're enjoying connecting with people, and that makes everything easier. So do what you love. Make sure you identify this is what I want to do, and because I want to make this not a job but a career.
Wow.
I thought.
Thank you so much, Christina, for sharing that. And as always, we have a final quote of the show. And the quote of the show is by Malti Bojwani. It says, nurture your relationships and all good things will come to you. Go in grace, go in peace. Speakers, hang out in the afterglow for a minute before I let you go. For those that are watching, don't forget the presidential debate is on right now. But go in grace, go in peace. This is Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.